for having me here. I am Arpita, as you said. I have been part of supply chain and operations for almost 14 years now, worked across different sectors, different cities, and currently I am heading planning and logistics for Schreiber Foods in India.
Wow, that's awesome. So, for our audience to know more, ma'am has been in heavy industries, pharmaceutical consulting, and now dairy. So, that's too many sectors, and I am really inspired by you. So, what helped you adapt and lead across such diverse supply chains?
So, Ayushi, one thing that has helped me like across these different industries is having a deep sense of process and having strong foundations. And I would like thank my very first organization, Jindal, where I believe I had this process mindset built, thanks to my leaders back then. And honestly, supply chain, I believe, is very simple and very complex at the same time. It's how you perceive them. Right. So for me, when industries varied, supply chain fundamentals remain the same. It's always about having the right product at right place, at right time, at right cost. So I always grounded myself in these basic principles and then worked on problems or solutions specific to that sector's reality. So obviously, we cannot deny the fact that every industry has its own nuances. So the regulatory frameworks in pharma are very complex. In heavy industry, we have like asset incentive intensity is very huge, or perishability for that matter in dairy. So I always
Mhm.
approached each transition with curiosity, first of all, spending time on ground level and understanding processes at one end and customer expectations on the other end very deeply. So,
Mhm.
what each shift required me to do was to unlearn and then relearn. That happens with every transition. And when you are working in a particular role or industry, you are so much into that role. It calls for major mindset shift, if I can say, when you enter into new industry. So my belief was to continuously upgrade oneself, learn the nuances of that industry, open to feedback, and this ability to adapt and learn from my own peers, from my mentors, helped me lead confidently even in this unfamiliar context. So when I look for opportunities, even today in my role, current role, I look for opportunities. What new can I learn within my function or outside my function? So yeah, all in all, it was more like I focused on portable skills that has helped me in transitioning, and that way I was able to connect the one industry to other industry without the like compromising on say what needs to be done by simply understanding what are the commonalities between two industries and what are the points of differences and focusing on them.
Wow, that's actually so awesome. And I think it's people like you who inspire us to even make that change, that leap from one industry to another. Because it's like we think that it's going to be safer to just stick to one. But I feel the way you described it, if you have that skill set to manage the transition,
Correct.
then it's going to give you a beautiful set of experience and growth, I feel, in the industry. And
Correct.
as you
Correct.
thank your first organization, you said Jindal, and then you went to pharma, which was Cipla, which is actually
Mhm.
very different, like industry. So, how, as you said, the mindset change is very important. So, what was it then when you went from Jindal to pharma?
So it was, Ayushi, it was not only journey from Jindal to Sipla, I would say. It was
Uh-huh.
a transition from shop floor role to corporate role. It was at the same
Oh.
time from tier two to metro city. So I would say my life had changed. My professional life had changed in all aspects possible that time. But let me tell you something more, what happened in between. After I left Jindal, I had started my own handicrafts enterprise in my hometown, obviously on a very small scale. But now when I look
Oh.
back now, that stint helped me transition from shop floor to corporate role.
Mm-hmm.
So while managing my own business, obviously, like any entrepreneur or solopreneur, I was managing end to end, getting raw materials, working with vendors, working with customers, delivering the products on my scooty, designing, costing, and whatnot. I had a team, I had a small team, but obviously they were into producing or manufacturing the products, but rest all was in marketing. So when clubbed this experience with my past shop floor experience and planning role, my exposure to other functions in any organization dramatically enhanced. Obviously, without, I would say, formal education, but it was learning on the go. So, the biggest shift, I would say, in the transition from Jindal to entrepreneurship to Sipla was opening up and learning. See, Jindal was my first organization, and in a way,
Mhm.
it was the only professional world I had ever known. Right. So now, when I came to like from one organization to the next organization after a year, it was
Mhm.
not only about opening up, but also leaving everything I knew in a heavy industry
True.
aside and start from zero. No ego, no attitude, whatever I had learned till date, whatever I had gained in my past experience, or even as an entrepreneur for a year, I had to put all aside and know that in this role, in this industry, in this domain, I am a beginner. Was that easy? Definitely not. It took a lot of effort because obviously, even I would say the very initial challenge to name the molecules of the pharmaceutical products that we used to manufacture or supply,
Mhm.
right? So that itself was a challenge because the names are pretty complicated. But again, as I said, you have to uh, start
Adapt.
from zero, know that you know nothing, and
Mhm.
with the right efforts, put it in right direction. I would
Mhm.
say, see, the transition was also from in general, the products have a service life in decades, in many decades. And in pharma, it was hardly few months, few years as shelf life. So you
Definitely.
have to change your entire mindset.
Right.
You have to like, and again, the kind of stakeholders you are working in Cipla role, it also dramatically changed. I was no more in shop floor. I was no more shielded from our end customers. I was right there in front of them. So you cannot simply copy paste what you know, what you did earlier. You open up to learn from your peers, leaders, and try to practice that. Even today, I'm like open to this all learning, unlearning, even today.
Yeah. Wow. But at the same time, firstly, I really appreciate the way you put it and the fact that you are so ready to adapt and learn from each and every person. It's very important, but at the same time, I feel that takes a lot of guts. Like, if I think about it, if I was to transition to a different company, I would be scared because there would be certain expectations from me as well. And you, no matter how much you want to accept that I have zero knowledge, but that can be scary too. Like, how would people judge you? So, how did you manage that aspect of it?
Um, so I think having these knowing that you know your domain well,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, were people not judgmental? Was there no questions, or were there not no questions in my own head? How I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to manage? This is
Definitely.
so different, right? But at the end of the day, you have few things that you know. You know your subject well. You know, you were not even in Jindal before your college. You were not even in your college before like your plus two and all, right? So
True.
every opportunity you work towards your grades, your engineering college, your first job, everything worked on it provided a different environment, and you were able to survive in each, not just survive, thrive in each one of them. So
Definitely.
I believe that mindset key, you will be able to do it. At the end of the day, you could like struggle, you could cry, you can like, I'm not able to do it. There is so much of pressure, so much of expectation. I'm not able. All those questions will come. But one fine day, your head, your mind will tell you it's doable.
Good
Take your
enough.
time,
Yeah.
define your own pace. Fine,
Mhm.
your managers can have different expectations from you, but then you also need to have an open conversation. What are their expectations, what you can do at what pace, and try to align them. and it happens.
Works out. Definitely. Wow. Thank you for helping us see the real side of it, that yes, what all we think is actually going to happen, like expectation aspect, the imposter syndrome, feeling like, "Ah, I'm not sure how am I going to survive in the sector," but actually making it possible is actually on the list, on the plate. And I feel like, as you said, that once you make the transition, you just have to also get it done. Like, it's not impossible,
Correct.
I feel. But, ma'am, definitely the way your whole journey has been, it's very inspiring because it does take a lot of courage to do something like that. And Cipla, it's a global leader in pharma. So, how was managing integrated planning in such a sensitive sector? As you said, that medicines are very short-lived and it was, yeah, time
Correct.
specific and everything. So, how did the whole journey feel like?
Cipla was, I can say, very interesting and enriching phase of my career. And not sure if you have read it, but Cipla has a very powerful purpose that I still live, right? That is caring for life. And I still find drive in same, right? Every action, and not true for every organization, but I think that purpose is very powerful to drive a person like me. So every action or inaction in pharma industry directly translates into someone's say well-being or treatment continuity or treatment to be started. So unlike other industries where if you delay something, your products are not on shelf, what
Mm-hmm.
will have, it will impact your customer satisfaction, it will impact your market share. But here any delay would mean patients missing critical doses, and it is a matter of life and death, to be honest. So,
Definitely.
this whole purpose instilled a deep sense of urgency in every planning discussions that I used to have, be it production, be it distribution, be it testing and release in the market. One has to be on top of every step until a released product is available in the market. Now, pharma regulations govern your overall operations, right? A safety variation filed in any other country by any other manufacturer can have impact on your supply chain as well. So one need to manage not only what is happening within your organization or what is happening at your end in your manufacturing plant, you also need to be mindful of the regulatory changes that are happening in the market and very quickly adapt to it, because all these changes come with a fixed timeline of implementation.
Um,
Now, I was because majorly working with European market back then, where the transit time, ideally we used to ship by sea, so the transit time, release time itself used to be close to 2 months or plus. It was very complicated because you're planning what someone is going to consume 2 3 months down the time. You have to plan for it way in advance, right? And it called for like precision, because you cannot log. This is a firm demand of 2 months down the uh, time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to plan for it precision, have communication with the labs when it is going to be released, and what if scenario also needs to be handled? What if the batch freeze? What if there is some issue in the high seas? You have to be very proactive on all these things. But all in all, I believe that experience helped me understand end-to-end supply chain, work with different geographies,
Mhm.
and in the end, gave me a very strong purpose that I still feel to live by.
I'm really so happy to know that. And the way you described Sipla does sound like a very, very amazing company to be dealing with in the first place. And the fact that they are so caring towards their specific customers is very kind and respectful. And I definitely was a big fan of finding out about pharma and supply chains intersection. And I am really mesmerized by it. But at the same time, I feel it is definitely something for which you really need to be that mindful. Like you really need to be in this. job. Like you cannot have daydreaming and the different way of functioning which we normally assume to be having sometimes. So pharma is a very sensitive sector, and the fact that you have worked there, I feel that the growth also it brings with itself is great, because dealing with time sensitive stuff is a big deal, and medicines and stuff which is going to be helping to save lives is a very very big blessing
Correct.
in itself. So definitely.
True.
And you have worked on integrated business planning, which is
Correct.
IBP, and you
Mhm.
have also led digital transformation at Accenture. So all the big some companies on your CV. That's the first thing. And so, can you please explain to our audience what exactly is IBP and why companies are shifting to it from traditional SNOPs, which is sales and operations planning?
Correct. Correct. Um, so I should see there are two ways to look at IBP, and
Mm-hmm.
I meet a lot of young professionals or students who get confused here. So I would like to clarify it here and maybe for your listeners also. See, first, IBP is a process that is integrated business planning as a process, as an advanced and mature uh, level of SNOP, that is sales and operation planning. The other is a planning solution by SAP that we commonly refer to as SAP IBP, right? So fortunately, I had the exposure to SAP IBP when I was with Cipla as well as when I was with Accenture. And now knowing the tool, I can definitely relate to it as a process also. That would be level like different maturity models refer it to as level 5 maturity level of SNOP, right? Different maturity levels of SNOP has been defined. So now you see SNOP when it started has primarily focused on two aspects, bridging the supply demand gap. Very simple over a like mid term or short term to ensure like your plants have the right capacities, your costs are optimized, and taking few trade-off decisions basis. If your demand is on the higher side or if you have supply and there is no demand in a particular region, how do you play around those, right? IBP, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
goes beyond just operations. It also brings financial planning into, I would say, this demand supply planning aspect
Mm-hmm.
into a single unified process. So it tries to bring other functions in the organization, unlike SNOP, which has primarily focused or being driven by supply chain. It brings finance, business, and strategic teams also. So obviously, one needs to have a very solid, I would say, process and platform understanding. So IBP, when anyone
Mm-hmm.
refers to IBP, IBP is a tool and IBP also as a process. So you need to have an understanding of both, and tool obviously depending on which organization you are working, what kind of tools that organization has. You can learn on the go. If you have understanding of the process, definitely you can like, especially the students or young professional can make to their next career transition if they are looking for. Now, why any company is organization are moving towards, say, IBP and not
Mm-hmm.
only on
IBP.
SNOP? See, right. Suppose, like, let me give one example of let's say, any FMCG company that is planning to launch a new shampoo, right? Now, what SNOP will focus on? How much do we need to produce? When do we need to produce? What quantity and which different nodes we need to? So bring all that aspect of supply chain decisions, and you have to meet your demand efficiently. That's what IBP, oh sorry, SNOP will focus on. How
Mm-hmm.
IBP will act differently in this situation? It will see what profitability, what margins are coming with this product, how is impacting the overall financial planning of the organization. Obviously, if you have limited capacity, one product is going to eat the capacity of the other product. So, is this profitable for the organization in the long run or the other product? So, this kind of decisions, IBP will firstly it will help you have the data in front of you that you can have these kind of discussions and then a decision can be made about this.
Wow.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
the Now, as I said, see the transition from traditional SNOP to IBP is see every organization is evolving, and it's I would say
Mm-hmm.
it's a part of the evolution process. That once you have attained one level, you move to another level of process maturity, then you head on to next one. So it's very natural for any organization that has a very set SNOP process to look at the next level.
Level.
And companies obviously are in a very volatile market. So what IVP is doing, your demands are like changing very quickly. Your supplies are fluctuating on and off depending on your vendors, depending on their tier 2, tier 3 vendors. So accordingly, IVP will provide more robust data analysis in front of you to take all those calls. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, ma'am, for a fresher or for anyone who has no idea of the two processes and that you just mentioned, like SNOP and IBP. Believe me, we understood it now. We understood the actual idea of what exactly is it and why is it. Like because it's like throwing terms sometimes becomes easy, but it's so hard to make sense out of it. And even like when we read the slides or something, it's just like, okay, you give me the definition, but what now? What am I supposed to do with it? It's just there. But the way you explained it with example, it definitely made it very clear for me, and I hope for each and every person listening. And talking about your other role, you are now leading a very massive portfolio at Scrabble Foods. What are some of the practical ways that you maintain visibility across planning, logistics, and customer service together?
See, I believe to maintain visibility across
Mm-hmm.
these verticals, planning, logistics, service, customer service, or any like in the industry or any industry, the key aspect that I focus on is having an robust and accurate live master data. See, that is
Mm-hmm.
the starting point, and I'm whenever I talk to different peers in the industry, I feel this topic is not being discussed as often as it should be because that's
It
the
should
starting
be.
point of
True.
everything that you do in supply chain, right? Rest all will follow that will come. So you can have highly advanced tools, IVPs, advanced planning tools, very competitive team. But in the end, if you don't have your foundational data, right, or the data is incorrect, it's not being updated on live real-time basis, you will never have desired results from the team,
Results.
from the function. For
Mm-hmm.
example, whether it's SQ codes, customer hierarchies, route maps, vehicle capacity, where your depots are placed, um, you cannot do any further working without having all of this. So, my first priority in any role, I would say, would be to have a clean and updated master data that simply is a non-negotiable. Without it, planning forecast will not match with what you are producing. You could be producing some different codes, you could be projecting in some different codes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your routes are not defined. So what will happen? What if you have a customer master? Say if you have to ship something to location A, you might end up shipping it to customer location B, and then from there you have
See,
to detour. Right? It will have an additional
definitely.
cost because your correct master data were not maintained or mapped. So
True.
suppose
It's like
I
the
can give
domino
you.
effect, I'd say. It's
Correct,
like the
correct. It
domino
will
effect.
have.
Like
It will
it
have.
starts. Yeah.
Correct.
True.
And if your lead times are not vendor lead time, very classic example, a vendor has a lead time of say 30 days, and your system it is
Mm-hmm.
maintained say 15 days. Now all your process, you have lined your production cycle, you have lined your quality release cycle, you have committed to your end customers, everything basis that your vendor will be able to supply in 15 days.
15
But
days.
it is 30 days in actual, and no one is checking for it. So
True.
your entire commitment, your production cycles, everything goes for a toss. And obviously, it has its own impact to other SKUs also. It's not only about one SKU. So that's one thing that I start focusing on. And
Mm-hmm.
next, I believe that see, deviations are bound to happen. We are working in scenarios where every day new piece of information, new requirement, new disruption is entering your in your system and disrupting some of other element of your process. Now, how can you eliminate this? You can try to eliminate internal factors as much as possible, but
Hmm.
external factors are at times not always in your control, or you might not be having any backup plan for that. Right. So what I try to do, having daily or weekly connects with concerned teams. So I have daily connects with some of the functions. I will have weekly connects with some other functions. Then monthly, depending on requirement. What it gives you like first information about what is happening, what is missing. See, if everything is going smooth, there is no problem. But I believe a lot of us are working only because not everything is smooth, not everything is going to happen what is prepared in Excel sheets or any planning tool is projecting or what is written on the paper or mails. So we are here to ensure that whenever anything new comes, you are there to address in a very effective manner, right? So having these connects with every function, having this visibility into your KPIs, the key KPIs that you keep on tracking. So see, you can have dozens of KPIs. Right. But then it is not adding any value or providing you the right numbers where you can take actions. So you need to set KPIs for like at all levels, right? And then you need to have visibility into those KPIs, having those real-time numbers. What is on track? What is off track? What actions can you take from those off-track numbers? Say forecast accuracy is not very good. Is it under forecasted or over forecasted? If your rotifs are not on track, what kind of actions? So firstly, you need to know what OTIF you have as on date. Then you need to know what reasons were there, root cause behind that, and then only you can drive any actions, right? So identify, have your master data correct, have your KPIs in place, have these connects where you focus on deviations, and then you can like take it from there.